Hi, my name is Jessica, and I'm taking in for John Green today in this episode of Crash Course Literature. Today we're going to be talking about the novel of...
Extremely loud! Incredibly close.
Quiet! By Jonathan Ford. Within this plot, first of all, we're going to be talking about plot.
Amen.
Within this story, there's 3 different points of view that go back and forth between each character. We have Oscar, the young boy who is 9 years old, the grandfather...
When I was a young man,
and the grandmother,
when I was an elderly woman.
Oh, baby.
They tell their life story and Oscar's quest to find the truth about his father. In the beginning of the story, it starts off with the 9/11 terrorist attack, but it's 2 years ahead in the future on basically the anniversary of the 9/11 attack on 2003. Oscar, who is very depressed and he has insomnia and he has a lot of panic attacks due to what happened to his father, he goes off on a quest in order to find a form of closure.
Ooh.
It begins with him finding a blue vase in his mother's room, which in an attempt to figure out what was inside it, he crashed it and he found a key, and in the envelope which the key was inside was written the word black.
Black.
In finding this out, he went on a quest to talk to every single person in New York City with the last name of Black.
Good luck.
So first of all, he broke the #1 rule of...
Don't talk to strangers! Stranger danger.
He broke the #1 rule. He went from house to house. Every person with the last name of Black had no clue who these people were and just said whatever and just walked right into every single one of their houses.
Hi, Joe.
In his quest to find out what happened, he meets another Mr. Black who lives actually in his apartment, and this man, who is 103 years old, goes off on his quest for him for about 6 months. We find out his entire life story about this man. And we learn that actually he was engaged to the sister of, guess who? Francis Scott Fitzgerald.
The Great Gatsby!
The great author of The Great Gatsby. His sister was engaged to this man, Mr. Black, but in evidence he actually liked the father more than he did his fiancée, so she left him. But anyways... It goes back and forth, but mainly Oscar's main struggle is to find the key and what it unlocks. Because he has a key, but he carries it around for 8 months straight, not knowing what to do. And then it jumps back to his grandfather's point of view. Now, he doesn't know his grandfather, and his grandfather was born in the time of World War II, and he was around for the bombing of Dresden, along with his grandmother, which is where they met. But plot twist, grandfather and grandmother weren't exactly lovers to begin with.
Oh!
The grandfather was actually in love with the grandmother's sister. Her name was Anna.
Hot damn!
And the grandmother found out in the beginning, and she saw when they were younger because they were only 17 when it happened.
Young love, baby.
But the bombing of Dresden kind of destroyed the entire situation. The grandmother's entire family, along with the grandfather's entire family, had died. They all died in the bombing. And they were left alone, but they did not know each other then. It wasn't until many years later that they met back with each other. And as the story flips back, it goes back to Oscar's point of view. And in Oscar's point of view, he's now a couple months into his quest, and he's gone through half the alphabet of his 216 names with the last name of Black. Right now, at this point, he's on
So
F.
108.
Yes, thank you. 108. He's on F right now, trying to find more people, more information, but sadly, every single person he goes to, they have no clue what it is, or they have no idea where the lock is, or they don't even know his father to begin with.
Oh, that's sad.
And then eventually it goes back to his grandmother's point of view and meeting the grandfather for the first time after many years later. The grandfather lost his ability to speak. He carries around a piece of paper and he writes down everything that he has to say, and he writes down whatever it is for a conversation, or he'll just flip back and forth to what is going on in the story. So he actually got a tattoo on his hands. On his left hand, he had yes, and on his right hand, he had no. So he could keep with the conversation. And learning about the grandmother, we find out that she basically begged him to marry her. She knew of what happened with her sister, but she still wanted to marry them, but they had a very complex relationship. They had a set of nothing and a set of something. There was something in the house, which is basically zoned off as a nothing zone. You couldn't walk in there and you couldn't be in there, and if you were in there, nobody was supposed to look at you.
Can't do that.
If the nothing zone, basically as we describe in the book, she would get undressed in the nothing zone, and he was not allowed to look at her because she didn't exist there. They had a hallway, and only half of it would be cut off, and that half would be nothing to something. You couldn't be in the nothing zone. If you left something in the nothing zone, it was lost forever. You could never take it back out.
No escape.
jumping back to Oscar's life, we see that he's near the end of his quest. And near the end of his quest, we see that Mr. Black, who was the 103-year-old man that was working with him, had eventually left him because he became too tired. He didn't want to do it anymore, and he just couldn't. Oscar couldn't handle this, and it just made him explode, basically mentally, because he couldn't handle the trauma of somebody once again leaving him.
Amen.
His quest was to find closure, but he kept getting a step farther and farther away each time he went. Now, near the end, though, the woman, Abby, she was the second person he talked to, and he sensed when he first met her that she was lying to him. But she ended up calling him not 10 minutes later after he left